Welcome to episode 651 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. Josh, you're back from traveling. 2 weeks. You had work travel, you had vacation travel, and we normally might have skipped this week, but didn't seem prudent.
Well, yeah. Well, because of the holiday, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the holiday also isn't until Thursday. So we might have still done it.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
I don't have to edit, and that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, how about that? Never mind. We'll save that for after the show. Let's dig into the news because we don't have any listener feedback. That's actually not entirely true. We did get a few YouTube comments. Again, some people complaining about Sonos. Also got some feedback talking about some of the USA shows that are also worth watching, like Suits, because you started watching. Now I forget what other USA show you started watching.
Burn Notice.
Burn Notice. Yes, that's what it was. And then also a commenter who liked my take on the Jabra Elite Active 75Ts and how I mentioned that the active noise cancellation isn't very good. And the listener pointed out that they loved what they did with the 75Ts. And I had forgotten this when I talked about them on that episode. When Jabra launched those headphones, they did not have active noise cancellation. And then they added it with a firmware update. And that's kind of awesome.
Wow.
Right.
Nice.
Right. A free firmware update gave you active noise cancellation.
Well, but that means that the hardware to pull that off was already on board, right? It already had external microphones on it to be aware of what was going on around it, but still really cool.
Exactly. All right. So if you do want to send us some feedback, you can do it on the website or all of our other contact stuff, which will be at the end of the show, or go to www.thedigitalmediazone.com for the show notes and all of the contact information there. And with that, let's jump into the news this week. And as usual, we're going to start with some video news, and we're going to start it off with a mix of both good news and bad news. The bad news is Paramount Plus is raising their prices on a service. Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. It's bad news, but it's also common news. The prices are going up August 20th, so you've got some time before it happens. The good news is, if you're willing to sign up for a 1-year contract, you can save a bunch off of what this service is going to cost. Because you, right now, can get a year of Paramount Plus with Showtime, and this is the ad-free version, for $60 for 1 year. If you break that down, that's about $5 a month for those two services. And when you compare that to what the price is going to be in August, well, it's going to be $13 a month. So that's a pretty awesome deal if you think you're going to want Paramount Plus and Showtime for an entire year. And so, I'm happy to share this deal with people, but I also recognize that, Richard, the advice that we give people, every time we talk about a price increase in one of these services is, you don't have to keep them long term. Watch the shows that you care about and then cancel the service and watch a different service. But This is such a great deal.
It is. Now, I suspect, like most of these deals, that this only applies to new customers. So that means you probably, if you have done what we suggested and unsubscribed from this service in the past, need to use a different credit card and or email address when you sign up for this.
Right. And if you're wondering, what is even on Paramount Plus? Do I care? So in terms of shows and movies, the big name movie that they've got, still Top Gun Maverick. You can stream it 1 million times. for free there. They've got these new Star Trek shows that Richard is always talking about. He likes most of them. They've got Yellowstone, which has been a huge phenomenon over the last few years. And if you're a gamer, they've got the Halo show too. And then they also have sports. So Paramount is CBS, in case you weren't quite aware of that. So you get access to your local CBS affiliate. You can just watch whatever would be on your CBS affiliate. And what I think is maybe not super common, on Sundays during football season, you can watch your local in-market football games too, because that would be on your local CBS affiliate. So that can be kind of a big deal. They've also got the other football, the European football, UEFA, English Premier League soccer. I'm probably screwing all of that up, but UEFA soccer is on there also. I think there's some mixed martial arts too. So you've got a mix of some really good shows, some really good movies, and some live sports, and a local TV station that you can watch. And we didn't even talk about all of the awesome stuff that Showtime gives you. So it might be worth checking out. And like, if you like the list of things that are on there, then maybe you drop the $60 and keep it for a year. I can't believe I'm recommending that. I'm recommending that while I'm not going to do it for myself, because I'm not going to watch the Star Trek stuff. I think I purchased Top Gun Maverick, and if I haven't, I should. And I don't really care about Yellowstone and stuff. So
yeah, this is a service that I do have. And remember, I was a holdout on the CBS
for a long
service.
time.
Right. But when they bundled it with Showtime, for me, it made sense. So I'm happy to continue to pay for it. I think I get a lot of value out of it, and everything's going up, of course. So, what am I going to do?
What are the newer shows on Showtime that are worth watching?
Oh, there's no new shows worth watching.
Oh. So it's just Homeland? You just keep watching Homeland over and over again?
Over and over.
I mean, oof. That I think that would drive me straight in. Like, I love Homeland, but I could only binge it for so long before I just started feeling depressed.
No, I joke. I can't watch that. It's funny. I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about the show and how much of that show dealt with her dealing with all this stress. And I'm like, yeah, it was stressful to watch.
Right. Right. Which tells you how good it was and how good the acting was.
True.
And yes, it's one of my all-time favorites for sure. Loved that show.
All right. Well, let's relieve some of that stress with some deals. So if you're a Verizon internet customer, and I say that kind of the way I do intentionally, if you have 5G service through them through a Verizon mobile plan, or if you have Verizon Fios, meaning you have home internet or some other internet service from them, you're eligible for new packages that they're offering. These are basically discounts on a bunch of different streaming services, which is great, right? So the first one is that you can get a Disney bundle for $10 a month. And this is a really weird bundle. I'm not aware of anybody else that's doing this. It is Disney with no ads, Hulu with ads, and ESPN Plus. And
yeah, that's weird.
It is, right? And that together would normally amount to around $19 or $18.99. And you can get that for around $10 a month now, which is a really good deal. It's almost half off. The next thing that you could get, so you basically choose which of these you're interested in. You could alternatively get Netflix and Max for $10 a month, same price. Not really as good a deal because both of these are with ads. You get Netflix with ads, the basic plan of Netflix, and Max with ads. So you're saving $7 but still $10 for 2 services.
Right.
if
Still
that's
a
something
good
that-
deal. I mean, saving $7 off of a $17 plan is pretty good.
Yep. Fair enough. Here's the one that really interests me. You can get YouTube Premium, which normally runs $13.99 a month, or I think 11 something because you pay $140 for an entire year if you subscribed for a year at a time. You can get it from them for $10 a month. Now, you and I have talked about YouTube Premium and our respective agreed principle that we don't want to pay for something that we're not using. And part of YouTube Premium is the music package that you get with it. You basically get YouTube Music, I guess you could argue, for free with the YouTube Premium thing, but you're paying for it because it's all together. And you and I both have our own respective music services and don't want to switch to YouTube Music. So if you only had to pay $10, would you consider it, Josh? Because spoilers, I'm considering it because, oh man, the YouTube ads are getting bad when you watch YouTube on TV.
Oh my gosh, they're so bad. They're so bad. Yeah, for $10 a month. But like it's a $4 difference. It's not that big of a difference. It's not as good as the Netflix and Max offer that saves you $7.
Right. It's like a 30-some% savings over the total price. It's not as good a deal as the other ones, but it's a month-to-month thing, so you could cancel it if you decide, you know what, it's not worth it.
Right. Well, and the bigger problem for me is that I think I would want to do the family plan because I would love it if my kids wouldn't have to watch ads either on all of their devices and stuff. But OMG, the family plan is $23 a month.
Yeah, it's not as you don't get this kind of deal with that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I am considering this. I think it's a tempting offer, and the combination of a couple of deals with the just miserable, I don't even know what the right adjectives are to describe it, but the horrible ad experience that YouTube is delivering intentionally is making me crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I'm not surprised that none of these other deals interest you because all of them include at least a service that has ads and you never pay for the ad-supported services.
Right, exactly. And I have pretty good deals on most of these anyway. I'm getting Mac still for free somehow, and I pay for Netflix. I do pay pretty severely for Netflix, actually.
Like $24 a month or something like that. Yeah. Well, there is one other bundle that's a little more confusing, but it's worth calling out because maybe you're like Richard and those don't appeal to you because you want the ad-free versions of things. They have something that they call the Plus Play monthly credit. You pay $10, like all of these other things, and they give you $15 to spend on other things. You could put it towards Netflix. You could also put it towards Max and Paramount Plus Masterclass, lesser known service, but really cool one for educational videos. And Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is a $17 a month service, getting it for, I guess you'd have to pay
$12.
But
math on the fly.
Right. So that's not bad. That's cool option too. And Richard, I guess you could do that. But then there's also like, if you're really playing the credit card game, and Richard, I know you're already doing this, Amex cards typically include basically like a monthly stipend on these streaming services and stuff too.
Yep.
A lot of options out there. Okay. Well, this whole story feels very weird to me because one, we're talking about good things, deals in video streaming services, and that it's from Verizon. Like, I never expect to have good news coming from Verizon.
Yeah,
right?
good point.
This all seems like a parallel universe to me. Okay, well, let's jump out of that and go into some sadder news. This is the suckier segment of the show this week, unfortunately, as we jump into the audio news. On the last episode, we really nerded out over some brand new Jabra earbuds, the Elite 10s and the Elite 8 Actives. These looked like some phenomenal Bluetooth wireless earbuds. I've been waiting for my next pair. We loved the fact that the case had a headphone cable that you could like plug into the in-flight entertainment system on a plane and still use your Bluetooth earbuds to listen. A lot of really cool features, premium headphones for sure. Literally the day after we released the episode, talking about how much I wanted to buy these headphones, Jabra announced, we're getting out of the consumer business. We're only going to focus on enterprise services now, enterprise devices. I was so mad. And like, you can still buy these, and they say that they will support them over the normal lifetime, that they would support anything. I'm not buying these. Like, they're giving up on the service, like on offering consumer things. I believe them that they would continue to support them, but it feels wrong to even want to give them my money for these devices if they're giving up on the consumer space entirely.
Well, and there's a difference between supporting and improving, right? It would be one thing if they announced that in 2 years, we're going to shift entirely. But no, this is by the way, tomorrow kind of announcement. So what you end up with is a purchase that may be great. And if there are bugs, they'll fix them. But they're not going to invest in enhancing the features that you have on these devices. It's just not likely to be a priority for them. So it's funny because what this made me think of, and the guys on Home Tech were talking about this recently, the Harmony remote. I will still spend good money for a mint condition Harmony remote control, even though I know that Logitech is not going to put another dime into improving them because it's the best on the market and there aren't really other good alternatives. Guess what? Lots of people make earbuds.
Right. This one stung a little because I've been a Jabra user for 8 years now. You know, I've never been an Apple guy, so I never got into AirPods. I've really been a Google Pixel user for a long time, so I never bought any of the Samsung earbuds. And by the time Google started releasing Pixel Buds, I was already in the Jabra ecosystem. So I wasn't going to jump on that. And it does feel like most people just buy the earbuds that match their phone, which kind of feels weird to me. Like, while I'm not really that much of an Apple guy, I just always kind of liked the idea of getting headphones from a company that isn't directly tied to my phone, because I've mostly been on Google phones for a while, but there was a brief period of time where I bought one of the Samsung Galaxy FE phones. And whenever you end up doing stuff like that, like, you miss out on certain features, like, oh, this feature only works if you pair it with a Samsung phone. Like,
Right.
I don't want to deal with any of that nonsense. So I just bought Jabras. And really, that leaves us with two major competitors, Sony and Bose. Sony does technically make phones, but they're not really a major player, especially in the US. in phones, so I kind of don't count them as being attached to their own phones. And I don't know, Bose seems to fit a very specific niche that isn't really me. So,
like, hand over the money.
well, yeah, that plus, they're really focused on, like, if you want the best active noise canceling headphones, you're probably going to get Bose, although Sony's really come after them in the last few years in that market too. And that's never been as big of a deal for me because up until recently, didn't really fly all that much. And so I just don't have a big need for active noise cancellation. I don't know. Gonna have to figure out what's next. I'm still waiting on Bluetooth 5.3, Bluetooth Audio LE with all of the features that I've been nerding out over for the last 6, 8, 10 months. So that's really what I'm waiting on. We'll see who does it first. Google's got an event in August. Maybe the next Pixel Buds. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, so you didn't really mention those, right? I mean, Google has buds that are very popular, I think. So I think there are many other vendors out there doing this that we just don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look around the floor at CES,
you
don't have to go very far before you find a vendor that's doing noise canceling earbuds, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You've got the ultra high end out there that I'm never going to buy. But then there's also what we've always looked at is like the lower end. Like, even if it's more upper lower end, like Anker makes some pretty decent, more in the budget line of headphones. Skull Candy's out there. So there are other manufacturers, but none of them in this like mid to premium range that isn't going to absolutely decimate your wallet.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what about Jaybird, right? They're catering mostly to the athletic group, but they tend to have some good products too.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I don't know. I think I think the market's going to be just fine with.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's unfortunate that they made this decision. Clearly, this just wasn't lucrative enough for them and not a big enough business for them to continue doing it. Oh, right. Man, I am reliving Media Center right now.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that, doesn't it? All right, well, let's move on to another interesting story. So we mentioned 2 months ago, I don't remember the exact date, Spotify increased prices on all of their plans. The premium single user went up by $1, the dual user plan went up by $2, and the family plan went up by $3 a month. And when we talked about it, we said, this feels like weird timing because we kind of expected the next price hike to come with the Hi-Fi release, which still isn't out there, even though they announced it in 2020. Yes, that's 4 years ago, folks.
And have recently talked about it coming out soon.
Right, still not out. And the only real like major feature that had launched somewhat recently to maybe justify a price hike was that they added audiobooks. Well, then just a couple of weeks after raising prices, it sort of feels like a backtrack, but not exactly.
No. This is totally backpedaling. This is 100% backpedaling.
It's like backpedaling, but like in a way that they don't really want you to notice, even though I did get an email as a subscriber, but this is super weird. So here's what they're actually doing. It's complicated, but you can go back to essentially the previous pricing, but it's not actually the easiest thing in the world. So I'm now on this $20 a month family plan. I can drop it back down to $16.99 a month if I don't want audiobooks. That's what they're changing here. They're modifying these subscription plans to allow you to remove the audiobooks, and it drops it back down to the previous cost. So like if you're just on a regular single person account, that went from $11 to $12 a month. You can go back down to $11. You can save yourself a whole whopping $1 and give up your 15 hours of audiobooks for a month. And for some of you, you might be thinking, I don't care if it's $1 or $10. I'm never going to listen to audiobooks, so I might as well take the $1. And for some of you, you might think, I might want a book. It's $1. Who cares? I'll keep it. But it gets a lot, it starts to add up when you get up to the family plan, going from
on the family
17
plan,
to 20.
$3.
Right. Here's the other thing that I don't know if this is new or if this was also part of the increased prices from a few weeks ago. But now, if you look at their plans for the audiobooks on the Duo and the family plan, only the plan manager gets the audiobooks. No one else on the plan does. So my wife and kids can't listen to audiobooks for the $20 a month that I'm paying. Only I can.
Yeah. for just some level setting, they can't enjoy the books that they forcibly added to the plan and increase the price to accommodate.
Exactly. Now, let's say all you really care about is audiobooks. They also have a plan for that, sort of. It's basically the free music plan plus audiobooks for $10 a month. Why not just pay the $2 extra a month and get ad-free music and everything else? Like this whole thing just feels weird and screwed up. And like you said, it's some amount of backtracking. Oh, and I said this is hard to do. If you go to their website right now, you're not a Spotify user, you want to sign up for one of these accounts, you're only presented with the premium plans, which are the ones that include audiobooks. After signing up, then you can downgrade your plan to one that doesn't include audiobooks.
Wow. That's we call that a dark pattern. That is them forcing you to do something you don't want to do because it's in their interest. Wow.
Exactly.
That's so sleazy.
It sure is. And honestly, this story is what makes me want to consider YouTube Premium.
Because maybe you will switch music.
It's
services.
so right. It's so sleazy. And like, I've used the audiobooks from time to time when a book either isn't available for my library or it's got a long hold or something like that. But I could do without it. And with YouTube Premium, I would get ad-free YouTube. But I've got so much history in Spotify.
Well, that's the thing. It knows what you like. It has your playlists. You've probably already put stuff in collections. Like it's just and you don't want to have to go.
I don't
through that all over again.
I don't. Right. No. And like Friday morning, my Spotify release radar, it is like a sacred day of the week for me to go and listen to the new music that it thinks I'm going to want to listen. Like it is my favorite thing about Fridays. It would be very hard, but man, they're making me want to leave. They're making me want to leave. And I've been a Spotify subscriber for 10 years, more than that. Like I've been around forever. I've hardly had anything bad to say about this company, but they're making it a whole lot easier to say bad things about them. So mad about this. Okay. I guess not all of our audio news this week is bad. The other one is not bad, I guess. It's from Tidal. Tidal has always been known as the music service that has the highest quality audio offerings. That changed a couple of years ago as Apple and Amazon started rolling out their hi-fi audio options. But then Tidal wanted to stay relevant and dropped their prices from $20 a month to $11 a month to match everybody else. Okay, so what's the actual news here? Well, they are changing their audio formats. Their absolute top tier format. So because they have a low, high, and max settings here. The max setting used a format abbreviated as MQA, they also have spatial audio that they used Sony's 360 reality for. And they're ditching both of them. If you are using the Max option, everything is going to switch over to using high-res FLAC for your stereo audio and Dolby Atmos for your spatial audio. For the Dolby Atmos one just seems logical, like they for sure have a bigger library of audio because it is the more common standard than Sony's weird format. The high-res FLAC one, that's I think is more business decisions. Like the MQA format is like, I'm sure there are people out there that can tell you that they can hear a difference between high-res FLAC and MQA. I don't believe them, but I'm sure that they exist. The MQA does give you, it has better compression, like the files are smaller if you're downloading files for offline playback and stuff. But it is a licensed codec.
Exactly.
So Tidal is paying, the music industry is paying to use this thing. And oh, by the way, it's not doing well. It's I forget the phrase they use for this in the UK. It's effectively in bankruptcy proceedings right now, but they don't call it that in the UK. It's something else.
What, Tidal?
No, not Tidal. The company that owns the MQA codec.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So MQA as a whole doesn't seem long for this world if they're going through bankruptcy proceedings. But Tidal, they had already started to make the move here. They've been offering high-res FLAC for a few months now, and now they're just completely switching over to it. So if you are a Tidal user and you've been using MQA, it's just going to automatically switch over for you. Even if you have downloaded files, it's going to replace your downloaded files with high-res FLAC.
And isn't FLAC open?
Exactly. FLAC is an open source codec.
Yeah, this makes complete sense. I mean, why license something from Sony, something from MQA or the MQA codec itself from whatever the company's name is, when there's other stuff available that's frankly more popular, right? Probably more people are using FLAC. And if you look at the numbers, it doesn't make sense for them to be paying probably high prices. And when we're talking about paying, this is in addition to the music licensing.
Right.
They have to license the music and then they have to pay for the compression algorithm they use to deliver it to their customers.
Exactly.
So this makes complete sense to me, and particularly with them having to stay competitive by dropping prices, a good move.
Yeah, really, really good move. And all of the people, like all of these audiophile people who were the ones that rushed to Tidal, every CD or record, probably vinyls, that they're ripping and stuff for their own music collection, they're ripping to FLAC. Like it is the standard. It is the open standard. It is the standard for lossless audio. So it just makes sense. All right. Last news story. We're jumping into the gaming segment. A fairly short one here. Xbox Cloud Gaming. Xbox has been doing the cloud game streaming thing for a while now. And they've been trying to broaden all of the devices where you can use the service. Back in 2020, they started building it into Samsung TVs, and it looked like maybe all smart TVs will eventually start to include this. And it's certainly grown. Now they're jumping into the streaming stick segment after, back a couple of years ago, they talked about building their own streaming-only focused console, abandoned it because it was going to cost too much money, and they didn't think anyone would buy it. Now, you don't have to, and you don't have to go and buy a new Samsung TV either. You can get an Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K or the Fire TV Stick 4K Max and play Xbox Cloud Gaming on it with, I was going to say for free. It's not really for free. Like it's a free app, I guess. Yeah. But you have to, of course, buy the streaming stick. these things are dirt cheap. Like the TV Stick 4K, it retails for $50. In case you didn't already know, which you would have to be vacationing on the moon to not know that Amazon Prime Day is in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Amazon Prime Day, singular, are on the 16th and 17th, I believe.
Got to throw in those grammar snipes.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime Day on the 16th and 17th. You're probably going to be able to get a Fire TV Stick 4K for like $3.50. Like these things go on fire. Wow, I can't believe I just said on fire sale. That was not intentional. They get big discounts whenever Amazon does Prime Day or at Black Friday. Like you can get these, you'll realistically probably $35 for a Fire TV Stick 4K, and grab yourself an Xbox controller, pair it up to this, and you've got Xbox Cloud Gaming on your TV. It will, of course, require an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription, which, like we mentioned earlier, is going to cost you $17 a month. But yeah, it's $17 a month on your cheap streaming stick to play a catalog of, it's over 200 games that you can play on this service right now.
No, here's an idea. If you have Verizon, use the $10 thing toward $15 of that.
Exactly. There you go. You got it. So we'll see if they start to expand to other devices. It's interesting that they went with Amazon first. Maybe it's just the easiest to get it loaded on. Because I believe it's based on Android. I guess I don't know that for sure though. But you would think that Roku would also be a really smart play for them because Roku is the most popular of these streaming sticks, but maybe there are other technical reasons why they haven't done that yet. So there you go. That's it for all of our news this week. Richard, let's jump into what's going on in our entertainment centers.
All right. So it's been a couple weeks, so there's a fair amount of activity here. I mentioned that I've been watching Doctor Who before. I have no idea what season this is. It's on Disney Plus now for some reason, instead of being through anything associated with BBC. And it is not identified as a season number anywhere that I can identify. If anything, it's season 1, which really makes no sense, and I don't understand.
Yeah, that's confusing.
It doesn't. Yeah, I don't get it.
So who's the doctor? Like, isn't that how they identify all the seasons anyway? Who's the doctor?
Yeah. I can never pronounce his name. So Shudo, somebody, really great actor. It's been a great Doctor. I loved the Doctor. I liked the relationship that he had with his companion. I thought the way they developed that story was amazing. The way they developed the Doctor is amazing. The season was weird and really short. I think it was only like 8 episodes or something like that. So I was shocked that it was over already, but we finished that up and enjoyed it. And I think the next episode is going to be the Christmas episode. So we have to wait a while for that. I mentioned that I was watching The Punisher. I finished season 1 of that. Man, I'm so glad I went back to that. I really, really liked this. So I will watch more, but the next thing up on the Marvel Universe for that series of stories, The Defenders, is the 2nd season of Jessica Jones. So that's what I'll be watching next. And I had never watched that either. So looking forward to that. Snowpiercer. I know that I have railed about the fact that Snowpiercer was just not available to stream anywhere. You couldn't buy it on disc. You couldn't stream it from anything. It just simply went away. While I hadn't yet finished season 3. It's back. And it's back because someone has bought the rights to show season 4, which they had filmed and then basically vaulted. They took the whatever it is, the tax loss on not actually releasing this thing, and then ended up selling it off. So now it's going to be on AMC, and AMC Plus is where you can catch the prior episodes for the last 3 seasons. They're all there now of Snowpiercer. So I caught up on season 3, really enjoyed that. Glad I did that, and glad I even saw this. I don't even know how I noticed that this was back. Interestingly enough, my free AMC Plus subscription that I had with Verizon just ended.
Oh,
So I no longer have access to it.
so now you have to pay for all of this.
So the new season is going to be on AMC. So I'm going to try to record it on YouTube TV and keep up with it, because I am sure the way they have been so tight with licensing on this thing, they're probably only going to have it available for a period of time, and then the episodes will expire. So I'm going to try and watch it as close to when it comes out as possible. And I think that starts at the end of this month. So looking forward to that. Watched a couple home things like Fixer Upper, the Lake House, which was the weirdest looking lake house I've ever seen, but I always enjoy Chip and Joanne, and they have just fun, lighthearted banter while they're doing these construction projects. Also, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but another home improvement show that we enjoy a lot is Farmhouse Fixer, which is hosted by one of the guys from, I think it's New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
Yeah. So random association there, but it's just an enjoyable home renovation thing. And he basically goes in with a designer and helps homeowners who have bought like this big old farmhouse try and figure out how to make it livable now, because many of them are in really bad shape. Also got back to Abbott Elementary, although I'm not caught up on that yet. We have watched the most recent few episodes of Last Week Tonight. I think the last one, and before the break ends, I don't think we caught that. I think that was about the upcoming elections in the UK, which, fun fact, take place on our Independence Day. Did you know that?
I just heard about that today because one of my coworkers, her daughter is flying to the UK for an internship or something like that tomorrow, July 3rd. I'm like, and she was like, yeah, and they're having elections on our Independence Day. Interesting.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. I can't imagine that's an accident. And then House of the Dragon, the prequel to Game of Thrones, has restarted. And as a result, we, meaning Jenny and Anthony and I, have restarted Let's Talk About Thrones. And we had an episode of that where we were pretty candid about the fact that we're looking forward to this season, but we don't know if we're looking forward to it enough that we're going to talk about every episode. So,
wow,
we'll see how things go. I really enjoyed rewatching the end of season 1. It took me 2 watch throughs to get through and stay awake through the first episode of season 2.
Oh, yikes. Yikes.
So, yeah. So we'll see how this goes. As I mentioned before, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about 3D printing, and we watched 2 movies. We watched Dune Part 2, got that on disc, so watched that as soon as we had it, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. Also, Grammar Girl had a very interesting episode where she interviewed the people who were responsible for the audiobook and who have also been involved in the movies. and they talked about how the different movies pronounce different names with like pretty significant differences, like Harkonnen versus Harkonnen.
Oh, right.
And I believe what they were saying was that for that example, what they're using now is what they expected, Harkonnen, because it was more harsh, and it was intended to sound harsh. And that, in fact, that's what Frank Herbert had told them he envisioned it as when they were working on the audiobook. Then there's other people's names that are pronounced differently. And in fact, it's the new way is not what they originally. So anyway, if you're really into Dune stuff and you're kind of fascinated by the language of it, I highly recommend looking for a recent episode of Grammar Girl where she interviewed folks associated with that movie, because I thought it was really, really fascinating. And then finally, on the audiobook front, I have finished Rachel Maddow's prequel, and a book that we are listening to for work is called Fluke. And it's basically about how a lot of the events that happen in the world occur basically by accident as opposed to design. These last couple days are making me question that theory, but so be it.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been up to. Josh, how about you?
Okay. Well, not as much because of, previously mentioned travel, but I have a weakness, Richard. I'm really not good at dealing with door-to-door salesmen.
Okay. Meaning that you get sucked into it, yes, or that you're mean to them?
No, that I get sucked into it. I can't be mean to them, and telling them that I don't want their stuff feels mean. So I talk to them and stuff. And a couple of weeks ago, before I left, there was a guy who showed up at my door, and he was from Verizon. And he said, "We're going through your neighborhood because Verizon's 5G home internet is available in your neighborhood." And I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, the deal was, since I don't have Verizon phones, which if you have Verizon phones, this gets super cheap, like $35 a month. He's like, you can have our 300 megabit up and down 5G internet connection plan for, I think it's $80 a month. And there's no risk. There's no upfront cost. If you don't like it, you can send it all back for free within 30 days. And I thought, why not? Let's give this a try. Like I only have one major high-speed internet provider in my neighborhood. It is my local cable provider, and I'm well past my introductory offers, and I'm now paying $140 a month for my 400 megabit fiber connection, which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sure, I'll try this. I'm not all that optimistic that it's going to work out well for me, but I'll give it a try. And so I got it, and I set it up once I got home from traveling, and the setup process was easy. The gateway, it's funny, it looks a whole lot like a matte light gray Xbox Series X. Like a slightly shrunken down one, only slightly smaller dimensions. It's really weird. It looks just like it, including the vents and stuff on the top. Easy to set up, easy to get going, has pretty strong built-in Wi-Fi, which is cool. Of course, my biggest concern was going to be latency. I spend many hours a day on Zoom, and I like to spend many hours at night playing online video games, and both of those are very dependent on latency. The trial went exactly as well as I had expected.
Oh, no.
It's already been disconnected. I will be contacting Verizon soon.
Oh.
Normally when I'm playing NHL, it tells me the ping. My ping when I'm playing in NHL is typically between 15 and 30 milliseconds. It is very low. when I was trying to play over the Verizon 5G. And this is wired, by the way. Like, I wired my Xbox to their router. It was 120 on average. Lowest was like 60, spiking up to, multiple hundreds. Really bad for gaming. And then tried doing one Zoom call the next morning, and it was not good. And then my kid woke up and turned on YouTube, and it all just went to hell. And I'm like, nope, I'm packing this up. This is not going to work for me. Now, I will say that I don't have the greatest signal. It has a little signal bar thing on the front. It goes up to 3 bars. I was only getting 1 bar. I tried it in like 4 different windows around my house. It never went above 1 bar. Maybe this would be significantly better if I lived next door to a Verizon 5G tower, but I don't. So it's not the solution for me. It's going to be going back, and I'm just going to continue to pay $1 million a month for my fiber, apparently.
It's funny because these solutions, I've just never understood how this is ready for prime time. When I lose somebody's voice on a call just because I go downstairs,
right?
That's not a good indicator that we have good 5G or whatever coverage for wireless throughout the home. And you could say that, oh yeah, but certain services, or but your location, but at this point, I'm talking multiple homes in multiple locations with multiple different services.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I would say against that is, like, if you have a spot in your house where you get really good cell reception, then that's the place where you stick the router. And this moving around your house thing doesn't actually matter because you're not moving the router around.
Right.
But you've still got to have that place. And ideally, it's in a spot that's more centrally located, because that's also your Wi-Fi router. And having a Wi-Fi router on the edge of your house isn't exactly great for Wi-Fi coverage.
Well, and, maybe somewhat ironically, the best place to put it is probably up in your attic, except that it's like 100 degrees, right? And that's probably not good for it.
Right. So, yeah, that was my very short experiment with Verizon 5G at home. Hopefully, Frontier, they're in my freaking neighborhood. I wish they would just make it to my street. Because Frontier fiber, much cheaper. All right, so that's that. Let's move on to what I've been playing and all of that. Because I was traveling, I knew I wasn't going to be able to play my PlayStation to play Final Fantasy. I wasn't going to be able to play Xbox. So I saw that Super Mario RPG on the Switch was on sale, and I bought it because it's a remake of a Super Nintendo game, but it was always a great game. I'd never really played that much of it, but I knew I wanted to. And so I picked that up, and it was absolutely the right time for me to buy this because I played it on the plane. I played it during downtime on the vacation and stuff, and I've made a pretty decent chunk of progress through the game. I'm probably 2/3 of the way through the game at this point because it's short, and it's really fun. So cool. I can highly recommend Super Mario RPG on the Switch. It's not exactly a new game. I think it came out last year, and like I said, it's a remake of a Super Nintendo game that probably came out in like 1994 or something like that. But really, really good. Really well done. On TV, well, I finished watching the Stanley Cup Finals, which are finally over. It went all the way to Game 7. I can't believe we were handing out the Stanley Cup on June 24th or something like that. It's nuts. It was a great series, though. And congratulations to the Florida Panthers. That shouldn't be a spoiler to anybody at this point. And that's it for TV and movies and stuff. Books. Started and finished the audiobook of Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, I think. This is also for a work book club, but it's not work related. This is just a novel. It's post-apocalyptic. It takes place in my neck of the woods. It's about a traveling symphony and Shakespeare group, 20 years after a pandemic wipes out 99% of humanity, and they're traveling around the Great Lakes area, mostly Michigan.
Huh.
Yeah. And so it's less about the apocalypse, less about the pandemic, and more about just life after the pandemic. And so it's kind of interesting to compare it to Last of Us, because Last of Us is also about 20 years after the pandemic happened, but there aren't zombies and stuff. Like, this was
right.
a flu and it just killed everybody. There aren't zombies and stuff like that. It's just people. Yeah, it's an interesting read. There was a mini series of this book adapted into a mini series on HBO. It's probably on Max right now. It sounds like they changed it a lot, though.
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. But it's a short. I don't know. It felt like a short book to me compared to reading Dune and The Stand recently. It was very short. I think it's like a 12-hour audiobook or something like that, which I think maybe that's more normal, but it felt so short compared to everything else I've been reading.
Like a normal audio book.
Yeah. I finished it in a weekend. It was good. Would recommend. It's not something new. I think it's been out for 15 years or something like that. All right, that's it for what's going on in my entertainment center. If you want to get a hold of us, there are a lot of ways you can do that. We're on social media. Richard is at Richard Gunther on Mastodon. I'm at Josh Pollard, and the website is at DigiMediaZone over on Twitter and Instagram. We occasionally do the show live. We didn't this week. We didn't think that would work out well, but we try to do that. So show up around 8:30 p.m., typically on Tuesday nights for that. Follow us on socials to know ahead of time when those are going to be. Also, we're putting most of these recordings out on YouTube, so you can watch the full episode on YouTube, and we've been chopping up some of the individual stories for individual sections too, if you're more interested in that. But either way, head to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, do all those YouTube-y things while you're maybe paying for YouTube Premium and not, just do it. You'll appreciate seeing the video. And that's it. It's going to do it for episode 651. He's Richard Gunther, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.